Hey guys, so I didn't really plan to make it a habit to film videos in my car, but here we are again. I had some time to kill and I have a video I've been wanting to do because I just thought it would be kind of fun. This past semester I took a Intro to Gothic Literature class, which, you know, that's about books, so I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about it and let you know what books I read and do kind of a wrap up of the things that I read for the class. So I have my list here that I wrote down of the books that I read, and they're not in the order that we read them because I can't remember, but I just figured I'd go over them with you guys and kind of talk about the class. I do remember the very first book that we read was The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole, and I'm going to put a picture up here so you can see the cover because I don't have any of the books with me. And this one was apparently one of the very first Gothic books to be published. And I thought this one was kind of okay. This one is about a man whose son is about to marry this woman. It's an arranged marriage that has to do with keeping the bloodline pure, I guess. And but the son is killed right before he is supposed to walk down the aisle, and so the father gets the idea that to keep the bloodline going, that he will marry this woman that his son was supposed to marry, and she doesn't like that idea, and basically this chase kind of occurs where she's like running and hiding throughout the castle. There's also this paranormal type stuff going on at the same time, and it's one of those books that was written a very long time ago, so it's kind of hard to comprehend the language, so you really have to focus while you're reading it. I did enjoy the storyline, but I definitely didn't understand it as well as I would have liked to on my own. Once we started analyzing it for the class and stuff, I understood it a lot more and liked it a little better, but when I very first read it, I was kind of unimpressed. So, you know, it was a decent read, and it was pretty cool to read one of the very first Gothic novels, but it definitely wasn't my favorite of the class. A lot of things that we read were actually short stories, so just to give you a heads up. The next thing was Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This one is about a man who basically goes through this quest through the forest one night, and his companion is pretty much the devil. It's never said outright, but I don't think it is anyway. I can't remember. It's been a while since I took this class, but anyway, and I thought it was decent. It was very creepy, definitely. He experiences a lot of weird, crazy things during this journey through the forest, and you don't really know the whole time if it's like a hallucination, if it's really happening. You don't know. Even in the end, that's kind of one of the discussion points, is like you try to figure out if, you know, do you think it was something that really happened or whatever. And this one was interesting. Some parts were a little bit slow, but for the most part I enjoyed this one. And once we started analyzing it, it's kind of the same thing with all the books in this class. Once we started analyzing it, I liked it even more, because it's, once you understand more about a story, I think you tend to like it a little bit better. Next was The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This was my favorite thing that we read in the entire class, and it was the one I was looking forward to the most when I saw the reading list at the beginning of the semester. So if you don't know, The Yellow Wallpaper is about a woman who, I'm trying to remember what happens to cause this, but she basically takes part in the rest cure. That's what her doctor prescribes her, and the rest cure is where you basically cannot do anything but rest. You literally, like our main character in The Yellow Wallpaper, she wants to write, but she is not allowed to, but she sneaks writing in, you know, whenever she can, and that's where the story comes from, is her writings. And it's just, it's definitely a feminist piece. There's some people who would argue against that, but I don't see how you could say that it's not. The whole thing is about oppression for women, and it was such an amazing story, empowering in a way, and it's creepy. It's kind of got a perfect mix of everything. It's just really good. I highly recommend that you guys read this at least once in your life. I think it's a short story, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time. I also, after reading it, watched the BBC series on it, and that wasn't a requirement for the class, but I just wanted to, and it was really good too, to kind of put a visualization to it.
Must you think all the time, Charlotte?
I know I haven't the strength for it, but I'm afraid that if I stop, I shall never be able to think straight.
So anyway, it was a really good one. I know I haven't been giving these star ratings, but I gave that a 5 stars. I loved it so much. Then we read The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. This one's about these 2 guys who are going on a trip in a canoe, and they end up on this island where some crazy, creepy things start happening. And I liked this one. It was one that kept me interested for sure, and I was wondering what the heck was going on. The only thing I didn't like was the ending. I was like, I still don't get what happened. I still didn't understand all of it necessarily, but it was definitely creepy. It was one of the ones that kind of scared me the most. Scared, I use the word lightly, but I mean, it creeped me out pretty much. So I enjoyed it. I didn't like the ending so much, so that did affect my view of the book, I guess. I guess I would give it a 3 stars if I was rating it, but it was decent, and I thought it was a good gothic piece. The next thing we read was The Veldt by Ray Bradbury. Loved this. This was actually my very first Ray Bradbury. This is just a short story, but I was supposed to read Fahrenheit 451 in school and never did. So this was technically my first Ray Bradbury. I loved it. I cannot wait to read more by him. Basically, this one is about, it kind of reminds me of Smart House a little bit, the movie, the Disney movie, if you guys remember that, which I loved that movie, because it's, the house that they live in is kind of like that, and there's this room where it's all, the walls just turn into these big movie screens basically, and what is projected onto these walls is basically what their children are thinking of. It's called the nursery, and it's for the kids, and so the walls kind of reflect their psychology, I guess, and what they're thinking. The Veldt, you know, as you can assume, it's like, it continues to stay this like kind of vicious African scene with like lions feeding on carcasses and stuff. So right away you kind of know that the kids' psyches are kind of questionable. So it's a creepy story. I really liked it, and another one of my favorite things that we read for the class. I can't wait to read more Ray Bradbury. Like I said, it was just phenomenal and a really fun read, so it's another one that I would recommend if you're interested. It's excuse me, it's a good short story. We read A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner, another short story. I was just kind of unimpressed by this one. It's about this woman who's pretty much a shut-in in her town ever since her father died, and she's very strange. She doesn't allow people in her house at all, and it's just kind of about the townspeople talking about her and speculating, and then in the end, after she dies, you get this like really big shocker once the people do go in the house, and there's definitely a big twist at the end. The twist was the best thing about the story. Everything else I could have definitely left it, take it or leave it, whatever. It was just kind of okay. I don't know. You know, when we analyzed it in the class, there were some interesting points made, but still, it just wasn't necessarily for me, so it was just kind of okay. We read A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. I enjoyed this one. It's about this family who take a trip. On the way, they end up crashing, and some unexpected visitors come by, and they're not exactly there for good intentions, and it's pretty crazy what happens, and definitely dark and twisted. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of the character study of the villain, I guess you could call him, and it was interesting. It was well written, so I think I would read more of her work for sure. I liked it. I definitely enjoyed it. So the next and last thing we read was Dracula by Bram Stoker. So I really enjoyed this, but he gave us such a very small time that we had to read this book that I couldn't read all of it in time, so I had to skim a lot of the middle, and honestly a lot of the middle got super duper boring, to be completely honest. It was very slow moving, and I was just like, I just have to get through this. I have to get to the end so I know what happens, blah blah blah. So if I'd had more time to read it, I would have, and I think I would have enjoyed it even more. But what I did read, I really liked, and the whole story is told through like letters or diary entries from the different characters, and it's just really interesting. I'd never read or even seen the movie, any of the movie adaptations of Dracula, which I know is insane. I don't know how I've made it this far in my life and haven't, but I hadn't. I just knew the basics of the story from pop culture, but it was really interesting and I liked it a lot. Creepy, definitely has all your gothic aspects, and it was just a really interesting read. I would definitely recommend it, and honestly I want to reread it again at some point so that I can enjoy the entire thing. and not feel so rushed. So I gave that one, I think, like a 4 stars, even though I felt like I couldn't really rate it accurately since I hadn't read the whole thing. But anyway, I enjoyed the class very much. We pretty much, what the class was, is we would have to read the book and then write an essay on it. But I really liked that style and setup, and I really enjoyed writing most of the essays, to be honest. Like, usually essays are not that fun, but it was really fun. It was like writing a book review in a way. I definitely had to be more analytical, but it was really interesting and fun, and I got a really good grade in the class. I can't remember if it was a high B or an A, but I just enjoyed it so much, and I loved the class. So if I encourage you, if you know you love books, obviously you probably do since you're watching this, and if you're able to take a literature class in college, I would highly recommend it because it's very fun and interesting to read in a different way, because usually reading for pleasure is different than reading, you know, for reading critically. So it was interesting. I liked it a lot. Liked pretty much all the books and short stories and stuff. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's different, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about the class and the books that I read. So let me know if you guys have taken a literature class and what you've read and all of that, or if you've read the things I have, if you agree or disagree. I'd love to know and talk about it. So that's it. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.